What's up, guys? So, if you know me, I mostly get my music through mail order, but it's been a while since I've had anything on order. I'm feeling a bit of a drought. Uh, I don't typically go to actual record stores for a long, complicated reason I don't really feel like getting into right now. But it's a mental health thing more than anything for me. But I just don't really do it. But, I do go to a lot of more like general stores that might not be a music store, but they still got a music section. So, and sometimes, yeah, I'll browse through and see what they got. And that's what I've been doing. I have a good sized haul now. I'm gonna show you some shit that I picked up recently. So, vinyl, I got Arctic Monkeys AM. Been wanting to get this album for a long time. I know at one point I was looking at like its online prices. At that time, the vinyl actually wasn't a whole lot more than the CD, so that's what I was leaning towards doing. I think the CD may have been out of print or something, but vinyl was still being printed or whatever. But I didn't double check any updates on it. I just went ahead and picked it up. But yeah, I think it's kind of funny how, like, bands like Arctic Monkeys and a lot of other bands kind of like it, that, like, some other bands I can think of are like Franz Ferdinand, Killers, early Coldplay. A lot of those bands are kind of like labeled as indie now, and I think that's so funny because, like, I was really into indie music, back during like the peak of it. And, like, none of those bands are fucking indie back then. Or, I mean, I'm not knocking them, but, like, it was basically, a better version of, like, radio friendly alternative pop rock, but whatever. I just think it's funny. So, yeah, the rest looks like I got about 5 CDs, Usually at these stores, you're not going to find anything like kind of more out there. Again, I'm not necessarily knocking any of these, but like, all of these are kind of like, basic stuff and, pretty classic albums that I just never got around, they're cheap shit CDs, so I admittedly fell down a bit of a rabbit hole. A few of these aren't necessarily like things I'm like hugely into, but like, I know they're classic albums, that's something that I kind of did more so earlier this year than right now is, give kind of like a lot of the stuff I've kind of neglected, take it for granted, maybe even kind of taken a shit on to a degree, and, get an album, take a deeper dive than just the surface level, whatever. But there was 2 that I was particularly excited to pick up, and that is Garbage. Never got around to picking this up. Something that I didn't realize is until fairly recently is Butch Vig, who's mainly known for producing Nirvana's In Utero. And he's mainly known as a producer, but he plays drums for them, so that's pretty cool. And that's a funny picture right there. So, and the other CD that I was really happy to get is Rob Zombie's Hellbilly Deluxe. I've been wanting to get some Rob Zombie in my collection for a long time. Just never kind of got around to it or ever saw it in the stores or whatever. Some of the art in here is a little bit risque, but I think I can get away with it on YouTube. It's got some pretty cool art. Yeah, some of it's maybe a tad graphic, maybe a tad sexy, but I don't think it's anything I'm gonna have to age restrict this for. So yeah, that's some cool art there. Alright. These next albums, like I said, I'm not hugely into these bands, you know. They might have, you know, a few songs that I've heard that I liked, or, you know, maybe not even necessarily songs I like, but, you know, there might be some elements to their performance I like, but what the hell, like I said, this is cheap shit, why not, you know, give a better chance. But, got Soundgarden's Super Unknown. You know, one band that I kind of categorized right next to Soundgarden is Pearl Jam, and you know, it's just a blank. I did look through these before, I just can't really remember all the details of it. But, yeah, I've always kind of associated Pearl Jam with them, and always felt like Pearl Jam is a band that I didn't really, you know, it was sort of up my alley, but not really something that I liked. But then I picked up 10, and I actually really enjoy that album now. So I mean, that's kind of something that I do as of lately. Is, you know, I give stuff that I don't think I'm really into a chance. Next up, from System of a Down, Toxicity. I think really the most ideal System of a Down album for me would have probably been Steal This Album. I'll probably get it eventually, but I found this in the store. I know it's a pretty popular one, so I'll give them a chance, you know. And I say that generally I prefer like the booklet style to like the multi-panel fold outs, but you know, when you got joined panels like this, it's worth it, I think. All right. And last but not least is AC/DC's Back in Black. I do have Highway to Hell. And like I said, I mean, it's not necessarily something I'm into, but it's alright. I mean, that's kind of in general the main thing that stands out to me about AC/DC is the guitar riffs. But yeah, I do like the guitar riffs on Highway to Hell, and Back to Black is cool too. Let's see, I think Back to Black or Highway to Hell was Bon Scott. This one's Brian Johnson. I can never remember like which vocalist was first, you know, which one died. I always get those two mixed up, but I do know there was actually one other vocalist who served for them very briefly before either of them, and I can't even remember his name, but he's some douchebag that's known for covering like the later era of AC/DC that he wasn't involved in at his shows, and like he has some like bizarre reasoning of like why he has the right to those songs even though he had nothing to do with them. I thought that was pretty funny when I found that out. But yeah, that's some music that I've picked up recently. So yeah, maybe go to show this weekend. As you can see, I got a thing I'm dealing, which it's pretty manageable at this point. You know, I know I've kind of gone back and forth with it because once it started becoming a problem, it was one hell of a problem. Right now, it's not that big of a problem, but it's still something I have to deal with. And I'm a little bit concerned about being far away from home for a long time, but I think I can handle a show this weekend. And I really want to make a show this weekend. So yeah, if that happens, I'll post footage from that. And yeah, I'll see y'all then.